What's something employers would never want employees to know because they would lose millions? You're allowed to talk to your coworkers about pay. The amount of people I've run into who thinking discussing wages is honestly a crime absolutely blows my mind. Discuss what you make, and if you're not making as much as someone else, question it. I once, male, worked on a team with a woman who had an identical job and more experience than me. Pay raise time. I got 50% more than her. And honestly, she was far better. I told her about it. Management fixed her pay, and 6 months later fired us all. That just because it's written company policy doesn't make it law or legal. Anything can be argued in a court, and policy that blatantly breaks the law or infringes on your rights won't hold up. As someone who has created some company policies, anything good can be changed and nothing is permanent. Stand your ground for what you want out of the job and see if you and the company can come to an agreement. Yes, negotiate. If they tell you a thing is not negotiable, it's usually a lie. If they won't budge on salary, ask about performance bonuses, fringe benefits, whatever. But if you're at that stage, they want you, and they've invested some effort into you already. Know your leverage and don't hesitate to use it. It's just business to them. Treat it the same way they do. That you can claim unemployment in the U.S. even if you are still working. If they cut your hours enough to where you're no longer making the same kind of money you were. You can file for unemployment. My knowledge may be a little bit dated. In Colorado, it's if your hours are cut below 32 hours per week if you're full-time. That we're like a family here actually just means we hope you'll tolerate unpaid overtime. I can't fucking stand any manager that had said this. The secret most companies would die to keep hidden. They have no idea what their employees actually do all day. I watched this play out at my last company in the most infuriating way. Our VP mandated a productivity tracking initiative where we had to log every task for 2 weeks. When the results came in, they showed our team was handling triple the expected workload with outdated tools, while 2 entire layers of management contributed almost nothing measurable. What happened to this eye-opening data? It disappeared, completely buried. Why? Because fixing it would mean admitting they've been underpaying the people actually keeping the lights on while overpaying people who mostly create PowerPoints about synergy. The kicker? 3 months later, they laid off 20% of the doers and kept all the managers. Then they couldn't figure out why deadlines were suddenly impossible to meet. So they hired expensive consultants who recommended, you guessed it, more managers to oversee productivity improvements. Companies would rather set money on fire than admit their precious org charts and management structures are mostly theater. The people who create actual value are treated as replaceable, while those who create meetings are treated as indispensable. I was a consultant who was brought in to reorganize an organization of about 400 people. A mid-manager said, "We did this 4 times already and they all failed. This one will fail too." So we presented the reorg plan. Employees loved it. It addressed problems they complained about for years. It would make the employees happier while saving money. But it broke up the kingdoms of middle management, and they killed it. Consultants have a hard time working on reorgs IMO because they know who cuts the check. Definitely skews the results. If they buck the trend, though, their recos fall on deaf ears, and they don't get referrals. Know your benefits and rights. I manage people and handle benefits. The amount of employees that don't have a fucking clue what they are entitled to is ridiculous. I try to coach them, especially the younger folks, but they don't get it. 2 examples. My state offers disability leave, which includes parental leave. I'm in an important role where it can be difficult if I'm out of the office. When my kid was born, you can be damn sure I took my full 3 months and not a bit less. Fuck you, that's my right. You can figure it out. My brother, who is in his 40s mind, tore his ACL at work for a huge company that delivers everything to your house in 2 days. He went to the doctor and got a note. I asked him if he reported it as a workers' comp injury. No, I have insurance. Dude, you also have deductibles and copays, and you only have 10 days to report a workers' comp injury. Get off the phone with me and go file a report now. If you need surgery and light duty or disability, that shit has to go through your employer. It's not on you. So true. In some places, workers' comp pays more than disability, and they can force your company to accommodate you when you come back. That the coffee machine is probably the most productive member of the team, and it's never asked for a raise. Maybe not millions, but anytime your employer requires you to do something, you should be clocked in. Meetings, trainings, arriving early to start your shift on time should all be considered time on the clock, and you should be compensated for it. I've heard many managers' bosses in the past tell teams not to clock in for brief meetings, etc., which is wage theft. The value of labor. I wish my current employer understood this one better, actually. Currently building a hospital on an island in Alaska. We never have enough material because the company is trying to save a buck by ordering small amounts of everything. No one on this crew of 140 has a 1/4 fender washer to rub against another. So much money is wasted in labor by people wandering around the job site looking for simple parts. At this point, you could order a few thousand bits of each style of small hardware and throw them off the bridge and still save money if we had enough to go around and finish our work. Discussing pay is absolutely not allowed to be against company policy. It's against federal law for them to tell you that you can't discuss wages, the boss said in a meeting. We couldn't discuss pay. I asked the guys if they were okay with me disclosing their pay, and they said sure, so I rattled off what everyone made. She called HR and looked amazed when he told her she couldn't tell us not to discuss it. How much value you actually bring to a company, especially if you work in administrative, low-paid positions. Sales supports, etc., enable companies to make a hell of a lot of money. As someone in inside sales, I have to agree with this. There are only 5 of us in my company, and we are responsible for every piece of merchandise that leaves 7 warehouses across the country, wholesale. We do more to actually sell to our customers than any of our outside reps, because we're actually talking to the customers on a daily basis, not just visiting them once every month or two. We have to deal with the stress of coordinating stock, shipping, and pricing. Yet outside sales get all the bonuses for our hard work and free trips with none of the stress. It's honestly BS. I'm a commercial manager that started off in internal sales years ago. Work was never harder than when I worked as an ISR. Please ignore this paragraph if you don't want unsolicited career advice. Almost everyone that I know in field sales came from the ISR role and lied to get into an external sales role with a different company. If you've got a couple years' experience, you're ready to move on. Buy a book or watch YouTube videos on forecasting and acquisition techniques. Change your CV to account manager and apply for field sales roles in the same vertical. If you're good in internal sales, they'll never promote you. The union thing has already been brought up multiple times. I'll just add that if you work for a large enough company, they literally have a department that pays people just to make sure unions don't get formed. It's usually called something like a labor relations, and the main crux of their job is to assess unionization risk of every move the company makes. Couple that with the tactics company leaders use to disrupt/influence union votes, and it's apparent that they are all scared shitless of this. That employers will always side with the person that's harder to replace. Always. You're severely underestimating nepotism. Good luck disagreeing with the CEO's Old Navy buddy, even if he creates more problems than he solves. Meh. They strongly tend to side with hierarchy. You may be extremely hard to replace and invaluable and almost necessary to the work done. It'd be very hard for the structure to side with you and not with the structure. What if I told you most businesses count on employees not using all of their paid sick and vacation time? Each day they don't use is money the employer gets to keep. Let me give you another thing. When you are working unpaid overtime, they get used to it and don't consider giving you a raise. This isn't true. Unused vacation time is a liability on the company's books. It's technically money they owe. This is why companies want to offer unlimited vacation. Because it's not a specific amount, they don't have to account for it. Depends on location. I'm in Washington State. Paying out accrued PTO upon termination is entirely voluntary for the company here. Thank you for watching. I suggest you watch our other videos. Goodbye.